In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence.
Bingo.
MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement.
Heil Hitler, baby.
You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is.
Look at this fat.
I believe we're on the path that Nazi Germany went down under Hitler, and I say that as a political science and history major.
Wow. Congratulations, butthead.
As someone who has studied history, and the parallels are very, very clear.
I got it.
You are fake news.
Let me ask you something. Are you gay?
Very fake news.
This nigga voted for Joe Biden.
Jeez. I can't believe that someone will have so much hate in their heart. Go back to where you come from, okay?
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now.
Skag free, whoever he is.
Dude, Matt straight up sucks.
10, 5, 4, 3.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live for Sunday, February 23rd, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. As you can see in the title, I have an exciting announcement to make shortly. I am filling Joy Reid's slot at MSNBC. Just kidding. My ratings aren't even good enough for that, but I do try. Of course, I will talk Joy Reid's abrupt exit at MSNBC with my guest this evening, Matt Palumbo from Bongino Report. That'll be in about a half hour or so. And yes, we will properly remember Joy Reid. When the news broke this morning, that's the first thing I did this morning when I woke up. Well, Joy Reid's out. Got to make an I will remember you montage. In other news items for discussion, Trump fires the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and this, yet again, this constitutional exercise of executive authority is questioned as though it's lacking. Trump says a peace deal to pause or end the Ukraine war. Very close, but there is this ongoing conflict with Zelensky. We'll check in with that. And of course, I have some hoax hate episodes for you, including a rare case where a hoax hate perpetrator is actually going to not just prison, federal prison as a result of the hoax. Catch up with your super chats as well. Our friend Knuckle Hunky Bunk will join us to read super chat for his usual Sunday appearance. Speaking of, hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that for as little as $1 a month on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay. Listener support is what keeps my operation running, and it is, of course, hugely appreciated. Not only helps me sustain, it's what helps me pay the people who make this production possible, of course. There are perks available for your support as well. mattchristiansenmedia.com/support, linked in the description. And of course, we got to say hi to our friendly listener-owned business for the evening, and that's our friends over at Hope Innovations. Have you ever wanted to grow your own garden, but you didn't feel like you had the space? With food prices rising and chemicals being added to our food every day, you might consider adding a hydroponic garden system to your home. Grow clean and fresh produce all year round with the Eden Tower from Hope Innovations. When it comes to growing your own food, invest in the best system out there and discover the joy of regularly having freshly harvested salads, homegrown herbs, or herbs, if you're inclined to say it that way, tomatoes, peppers, and more with your very own hydroponic system. Engineered to be elegant and practical, the Eden Tower stands above the competition with its patented cup system and allows you to drop a seed and go. As a super chatter said Wednesday or last week, just like Elon Musk, drop a seed and go. You don't need a green thumb to easily grow delicious and nutritious food. $200 off an Eden Tower hydroponics kit from Hope Innovations if you use a listener-exclusive link available only on my website. Head on over to mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals, find the Hope Innovation section, click the link, $200 off an Eden Tower hydroponics kit. You can get started growing your own food easily and simply today. Of course, find everything you need from our friends at Hope Innovations, plus the rest of our friendly listener-owned businesses. Great offers from them as well. Hero Soap Company, Western Razor Company, Kineo Mountain Woodsmithing, and more. mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners, for listeners. And speaking of our friends at Hope Innovations, it of course is the last Sunday chance to get in on that Tower of Babble hydroponics kit super chat sweepstakes. Of course, all month long, our friends at Hope Innovations are offering the chance to win one of these hydroponics kits. If you super chatted, of course, we're looking for the best, funniest, most clever super chats. If you super chat and you hear the special sounder in response,
I love you.
that means you have earned an entry into the sweepstakes to win one of these hydroponics kits, over $1,000 value. The only catch, as I've mentioned, and I'll try to be brief since I know many of you have heard this a million times now, but the only catch is you got to head on over to my website and give me an email that corresponds with your super chat name so I can contact you, because I have no way to contact you through your super chat name. So if you get that entry, just head on over to the giveaway page on my website. It's linked in the description. Let me know an email. I can contact you, and I will be happy to do that in the event of your victory. Just and for those of you who are skeptical, I'm not going to keep your email. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to give it to any third party or anything like that. mattchristiansenmedia.com/giveaway for all the information. Well, since I have a few personal items this evening, one thing that other streams do that I really like, I think sets the mood, is a little bit of music. Gets the right feel for, a little bit of monologuing, which I don't necessarily do a lot of, at least in like a personal way. But it sets the right tone for things that matter,
Are you a gay man?
You can make all the jokes you want, not above it. But it is a time of old life and new life in my life right now, endings and beginnings. As far as the new life, I have an announcement to make on that shortly. It's not going to be a surprise if you see the title of this episode. But the old life that I'm referencing was actually my wife's grandma, who died last week. And I bring that up not just to give tribute to her personally, but to take some lessons away from the life that she lived. She was almost 90 years old when she died, and obviously I didn't know her for long. I've known her only through my wife since 2018. Many of you know that my wife was adopted. She was born from a teenage pregnancy, but given a chance at life through her grandma's family, of course. And grandma died last week surrounded by her family in her home, and they watched her as she went. Two things. Number one, I thank her for her part in giving my wife's life a chance, of course. Changed my life. It's the reason I have my family. It's the reason I have my sons. Hopefully more of them. I can't imagine a world where a different choice was made with my wife's life, because all the lives that depend on it, they wouldn't be the same. In the case of my children, they wouldn't exist. And number two, when someone dies in the way that she did at 90 years old, almost, surrounded by family, it's a death. It's sad, of course, as any death is. But it's also an incredible accomplishment. It's kind of a hat tip moment, If you die at 90, surrounded by your kids and your grandkids, you did it right. You won the challenge of life. So you're gonna get those tears when you die that way, but you're also gonna get that hat tip because, most importantly, you get a legacy. You'll get those people who will carry you on with their own lives and their children's lives. So what are the lessons that I take away from the life that was hers? Well, number one, give life a chance always for its own sake. That life absolutely will affect others. Life has value. Protect it. She did that with my wife. There's a lot to show for it. Number two, build a family. We should all be so lucky to die old in our homes, surrounded by our families. The only way you get that, of course, is if you build family. So if you aren't working on that, I strongly encourage you to do that. Strongly encourage you to get started. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And of course, if you already have, and many of you have, be thankful for them. So, salute to my wife's grandma and the life that she lived. She did it right. But that brings us to the new life that I want to celebrate. My wonderful wife is pregnant again. She is due September 22nd, which coincidentally is the exact same due date for our first son, Calvin, in 2021. So September 22nd, 2021 was the due date then. September 22nd, 2025 is the due date now, though of course our son Calvin was born 3 weeks early, but interesting timing. I am a man of habit, many have noticed. We had the first ultrasound on Thursday, and we're about at 10 weeks. So all signs look healthy. We are hugely grateful for that. And my wife had been so sick with nausea this time, like bedridden, can't do anything sick, that all the wives' tales tell us that that's a sign of twins. So we've been thinking, are we just going to knock out 3 and 4? Of course, we'd like to have 4 kids. That's kind of the target, maybe more. But are we going to knock out 3 and 4 in one go? No, it's just one baby. And I did ask the doctor, are you sure? Make sure you search in there thoroughly. Is there any surprise twin? No. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but we will find that out in the next few months with the next ultrasound that we get. And of course, this child, God willing, will join our sons Calvin and Hayden this fall. Calvin will be 4 years old at that point, newly 4 years old. Hayden will be about 18 months. Both of these boys, as you can see in the photos, are enjoying a very snowy winter together. And I don't just show them because of how proud I am of them. I show them, of course, periodically to thank you, the audience, for being a part of building this family. I talk about the importance of building family. The way I've been able to do that is through this audience. Many of you know I met my wife through this stream, through this channel. So people who tune into this channel, whatever way you may, however frequently or not you may. People who support this channel. That is what sustains my family. So whatever part you've played in that, thank you. My family would not exist if it wasn't for your support. And this is all part of phases ending and phases beginning. You know, old life, new life, old phase, new phase. For the last few months in my life, it's been very clear that old phases are ending, new phases are beginning. It's weird how just things move out and things move in simultaneously. It can be really chaotic. It's been a really rough stretch of endings, as those of you who listen frequently, I'm sure, are aware. My wife had the miscarriage at the end of July. And then in early September, the tenant bombshell dropped, and my job got deleted, and my professional table just got flipped. And then in October, my dog Bash died, my closest companion over the last decade. And right after that, we had the falling apart of the former iteration of this stream. Even my old car is in the shop right now. It might be dead. The car I've had for the last 10 years. The biggest pieces in my life, well, not the biggest, but major pieces in my life are going away. And new major pieces are moving in and emerging. So what are the lessons there? Well, one, today is not tomorrow, okay? That means 2 things. One, always be prepared to adapt and survive. You got to keep the faith to persevere. Grateful for that as a new component of my life within the last year. And number 2, be grateful for what you have today. It can always be deleted tomorrow. There's always such temptation to move on to the next thing. I achieved this, but now I got to do that. Well, this is done, but then there's that over there. If you never take the time to appreciate and enjoy what you have today, however modest it may be, however amazing it may be, I mean, you're missing key points in your life, and I'm trying to focus on that myself. Everything you love might be gone tomorrow. But that is okay, because one day we're all going to reach that point where everything you love is gone, or you yourself are gone. That is okay, as long as you love it today. As long as you love it and appreciate it when you had the opportunity. I also think all of this has implications for the state of the stream. I don't talk about the stream itself very much, and I haven't really since this iteration of it started. But man, I've received a lot of emails over the weeks that I've been doing this, back since late October, early November, doing this version of the stream. People with thoughts about it, many appreciative, and I appreciate them. Some critical, some fairly critical, some meanly critical, but that's okay. That's the nature of the work. But for everybody, whether you want to keep listening or you need a break, or maybe you love what I'm doing now, maybe you hate what I'm doing now. You don't like this version, you want that version, whatever else. Point is, today is not tomorrow. Same thing I'm talking about in the context of the old life and the new life. Today is not tomorrow. The way this stream exists right now is not necessarily the way it will exist tomorrow. And if you don't believe me, go back on my channel and look at the streams from 2016 and 2017. You can find out just how much today is not tomorrow. What I'm saying is anything worthwhile takes time to build. You can't force anything into success. And by far the biggest complaint, criticism, I don't know. I don't even want to say it's out of line. It's not. It's perfectly fair. You're entitled to your opinion. And of course I want people to listen to the show, but one thing people will tell me, like, oh man, you need a co-host. I like you, but you need a co-host. You got to have one. You're not the same without a co-host. And for the most part, see, when people tell me that, I think sometimes there's an assumption that I don't necessarily agree, or that I'm locked in my way on this. Like, I've decided this is the format of this show and it will forever be this way. No, for the most part, I actually do agree. I do like back and forth. I like working with the right person. A couple considerations, though. The right person is not just someone you shop for at Walmart, You got to find that person. That person's very rare. That's ongoing. And I know there are wants for this right personality to fit in, maybe to have the sort of back and forth that maybe I used to have, or maybe people still want. I share that. I do enjoy that back and forth. The worst thing you can do, though, is force the wrong personality into that box. And I'm very wary of that, and I want to avoid doing that. Number two, part of the way I've ran the stream for the last few months, it's kind of proving to myself that I can do it myself. That I don't necessarily have to rely on somebody else. I can go alone if I have to, and I think I can. But that's not to say that I want to go alone, to the point of many of you. I do agree that I think I make my best work and the stream is at its best when there's just that little spark from another personality. So long term, of course, I do hope to recover that. Now, how am I going to find that? Again, you don't shop for it at Walmart, okay? I'm gonna keep shopping for it by mixing additional personalities into the show, and over time the right matches are going to become clear. They will reveal themselves. I am keeping my eyes and ears peeled for that. But if you have requests for certain people to appear on the stream, I think Matt would be a great fit with this person. I think they would work great together. Send them my way. I'm happy to consider anybody to work with. So matt@mattchristiansenmedia.com. If you got people that you think would be an interesting fit to mix into the show, contact box on my website. You can get me there too. Now, I also have some additional adjustments planned. I'm not going to announce it just yet, but stand by for those. There are some tweaks that I do want to make. But overall, just thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for giving my little corner of the internet a chance. Even if you liked it then, you don't like it now, you like it now, you didn't like it then, something in between, you check in every few months, or you're here every single week or multiple times a week. Thank you for giving this place a chance, because it's responsible for everything I have. And I appreciate that. Now, my goal is, if you decide, like a lot of people, I took a break, I'll come back later. That's my goal. No matter where you fit in that I will always be here later. Even if you are gone for a while, you come back later, I'm still here later. And I appreciate the many of you who make it possible for me to be here later. You've completely changed my life. It's all I can do for you in return. And I thank you for being a part of my life in that way and for making me a part of yours.
Gay!
Thank you for listening to my dramatic monologue. So let's get back into what we usually talk about on this show, which is, well, I guess lately, which lesbian is responsible for the fires in LA? And as I mentioned on Wednesday, Karen Bass doesn't even count in the list of lesbians, I guess. That's news to me. But when we discussed this on Wednesday, talked about, it was Karen Bass's first interview since she disappeared to Africa while her city burned down. She said she's demanding accountability in this interview. She's going to get accountability in every area. We're going to investigate everything. One of the things she pledged to investigate is who was supposed to tell her not to go to Africa. I take accountability for going to Africa. It was a bad idea. No, who was supposed to tell me not to go to Africa? I'm going to fire them. That was the thinking. And that's the problem. It's that nobody told her not to go to Africa, or that going to Africa was a bad idea. Someone needs to be responsible for that. Well, apparently it was the fire chief who was supposed to tell her not to go to Africa, because on Friday, Karen Bass announced that she has fired LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley, effective immediately. And remember, it was reported last month that Bass had fired Crowley, and then the two talked, and then she wasn't fired anymore, but now she is fired. So there's been some tension ongoing for some time now. Now, Bass, she says this move is in the best interest of Los Angeles public safety. As though, I mean, what Los Angeles public safety has Karen Bass achieved? Yeah, good question. But that's what she says. Bass said that 1,000 firefighters could have been on duty when the fires broke out, and they were not. And this was all on Crowley's watch. Bass says Crowley also refused to do an after-action report on the fires. So here's some local reporting on the story, which political leaders are calling, this is just a bunch of scapegoating. A lot of political leaders in LA are. Karen Bass just looking for someone to blame. But listen to the last piece of commentary from a county supervisor.
On January 10th, while flames were still raging, LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley took the unusual step of speaking out in a television interview, saying she believed the city, a term which included her boss, Mayor Karen Bass, had failed her and the fire department. This Friday, Karen Bass came out with blasting commentary about Chief Crowley. Acting in the best interests of Los Angeles' public safety, I have removed Kristen Crowley as fire chief. We know that 1,000 firefighters that could have been on duty on the morning the fires broke out were instead sent home on Chief Crowley's watch. Government leaders, business leaders, and the firefighters union wasted no time in responding to Chief Crowley's ouster.
Chief Crowley is being made a scapegoat, and she's being terminated for telling the truth.
Supervisor Lindsay Horvath describing the importance of after-action reports, but telling us that, quote, under the city charter, Mayor Bass has the executive authority over this personnel matter. What must be called out are the public attacks against Chief Crowley's gender and sexual orientation. Suggestions that her identity correlates to an inability to do the job are not only unacceptable, they are against the law.
Okay, it's that last part there. Sure, the city burned down, but remember, it's crucially important not to suggest that lesbians can't do the job of fire chief, because to suggest such a thing would be against the law. And I thought, did I misunderstand that quote? Did they misquote her? This is a county supervisor named Horvath. I think it's Lindsay. Yeah, Lindsay Horvath. Well, I found the quote in the New York Times as well, so it's not incorrectly attributed. Quote, suggestions that her, as in Crowley, the fire chief, suggestions that her identity correlates to an inability to do the job are against the law. Okay, so read that. The suggestions are against the law. Well, they most certainly are not.
It's not against the law, ho, fuck you.
You absolutely, of course, have a First Amendment right to say that lesbians can't do this job, that job, any job, or that they're great at whatever job, whatever you want, whatever your lesbian opinion might be. You have a First Amendment right to it. Now, I think that she means to discriminate against somebody, not to hire them or to fire them on the basis of sexual orientation would be against the law. And in California, I assume that's probably true, but very weird way to phrase it. The way this is written or the way this is said sounds like your opinion is illegal, but okay, It is California, so maybe that's exactly what it's supposed to say. Anyway, if lesbians are so good at the job, why is Karen Bass bringing back a man to do it? Because Karen Bass is bringing back the former fire chief, Villanueva is his name. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in this article here, but yeah. Ronnie Villanueva, who just retired after more than 40 years at the Los Angeles Fire Department. He will be interim chief, and there's going to be a search for the replacement. Now, Crowley actually plans to stay at the fire department. She won't be chief, but she is staying there. She issued a statement herself. She'll take on a different role of some kind. She issued a statement herself saying she's proud of the work of the fire department. She did not mention the firing or the mayor in the statement. So just a generic, everybody's awesome, thank you type statement. Now, Bass better watch out, though, because, you piss off the wrong lesbian, you never know what's going to happen or whether you're going to get your ass kicked or maybe get your ass fatally kicked. Because just south in San Diego, there's a manhunt for the wife of the fire captain down there. That's the New York Post headline. Manhunt? I thought that's really unfair. She doesn't look like a man at all. The one who did the murder is the lipstick one here. So there's a lipstick hunt. There's a lipstick hunt in Southern California for the wife of Cal Fire Captain Rebecca Beck Marody, who's on the left there. Marody's wife is now wanted for this brutal murder. On February 17th, that would be Monday, police responded to their home after a report of an assault with a deadly weapon. They found Rebecca Marody dead with multiple stab wounds. They tried to revive her, unsuccessful. Died in her home. Police say they have not yet determined the motive. They have no idea why this happened. I have obtained exclusive audio that explains exactly why this happened.
I'm dead, you fucking bitch!
That's from the start of the fight that led to the killing.
I'm dead, you fucking bitch!
And actually, it's very interesting. This is not the first murder for this woman. Yolanda Marody, I guess is her name. Yolanda, the wife. She was previously charged with murder in 2000 in San Bernardino County for stabbing a man to death. She pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, involuntary manslaughter. She was sentenced to 13 years in prison. She did 9.5. She got out in 2013, and now here we are with, I guess, another murder. So, and she's on the run. So check your Subaru. There may be a murderous lesbian hiding in the back or in the trunk or, wherever. Anyway, speaking of homosexual tirades, former NFL punter Chris Kluwe made news this week after making a scene at the Huntington Beach, California City Commission meeting. And he, of course, is the former punter of my favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings, regrettably. Good news for him is it's hard to embarrass that team any further than they already do themselves. But in Huntington Beach, the city commission approved the installation of a plaque at the library, and the plaque says magical, alluring, galvanizing, adventurous. In other words, it spells out MAGA. And Chris Kluwe, so enraged by this acronym, Chris Kluwe showed up to call everyone Nazis, and then he walked up to the commission members on purpose to get arrested.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Get the heck! Get out!
Congratulations, butthead.
Well, I can't believe those actual Nazis let him speak in opposition to them and then released him immediately. I don't think he was charged for this. They arrested him to remove him. I don't think he got any kind of charge, at least not that I read. It's as if they're not Nazis. But of course, Chris Kluwe is going to praise himself for his own bravery. Bravery others should emulate, of course. He says in here, as a white heterosexual man,
I doubt it.
I have lots of privilege and power. So it's got to be on us white heteros to be on the front lines in support of those being oppressed. And then Chris Kluwe went on CNN to glorify himself even further. Chris Kluwe, has studied history, and he knows encroaching fascism and Nazism when he sees it.
I believe we're on the path that Nazi Germany went down under Hitler, and I say that as a political science and history major, as someone who has studied history, and the parallels are very, very clear. This administration is trying to erase trans people. This administration is trying to put obedience over duty to the country. This administration is trying to thrust our country into turmoil in order to reap power for themselves.
Well, Chris, as a fellow political science major, you're retarded. Someone in the replies on X, where I grabbed that clip, they said, it would have been actually more credible to say, as a former NFL punter, than it is to say, as a history and political science major. Is it more credible to say as a former Vikings punter, though? You do have to qualify. But okay, Chris Kluwe, with your historical expertise, how long has this creeping Nazism been taking shape? Because Trump has been in political prominence. He's been president or presidential candidate or president in waiting for the last decade, since 2015. When does he finally reach Hitler final form? The guy doesn't have a lot of time left on this planet. He's an old man. In the surely accurate historical account and prediction, when does Trump reach final form? Or is he already Hitler? But again, it's weird if he's already Hitler that all his brown shirts allow you to speak openly in opposition to the Hitler stuff. But, Chris is prepared for when they come to beat him up. He actually has a story in the USA Today article here. He has a story about how someone muttered at him. Someone muttered, "You're canceled. Boy, you're canceled." That's what someone said to him. And the reporter at USA Today said, "Well, do you feel physically safe? Are you physically threatened by all these MAGA fans?" And Chris Kluwe says, "No, I don't feel physically unsafe. I don't. And you know what? Even if I do, it's okay because I'm a big, strong man who can fight people." The quote is, quote, "I don't want it to come to that point, as in violence. But if people think that peaceful protest is the only thing that I can do, they will be very sadly learning otherwise."
Ooh, don't do it.
Fuck around and find out.
I think... if we actually do have this civil war, anybody who draws Chris Kluwe in your civil war matchup, you got to feel pretty good about that. I'm not too worried about Chris if he's my draw. And why do I say that other than what we just saw here? Well, it's because Chris Kluwe has a history of being soft and pathetic, even for a punter. Kluwe still maintains that he was released by the Vikings in 2013 because he supported gay marriage, and they just wouldn't tolerate it. Yes, the same organization that currently has a dedicated pride page on its website, and so they don't just blast this gay pride stuff every June for Pride Month. It's there all year round. Hey, look at these homos who made art for us. Aren't they awesome? Hey, look at all this gay pride merchandise. Look at this. The whole page is rainbow. But yes, these people... they won't tolerate gay marriage. And that's why they got rid of Chris Kluwe. And perhaps you say, well, yeah, but this was a decade ago. Pride has really gained steam since then. Okay, but as part of Chris Kluwe's claim, he acknowledges that the owner of the Vikings, Ziggy Wilf, saw him at the team facility back in 2013 or 2012 and said, "Hey, Chris, I'm really proud of what you're doing. Please feel free to keep speaking out." Okay. But yeah, they're all anti-gay. And how are they anti-gay? Well, Chris Kluwe says he was fired by, where's the quote in here? Let me find it. He was fired by the Vikings because of his stance on, yeah, here it is. His stance on gay marriage and because of a fight with special teams coach Mike Prefer that happened in 2012, I believe. So Kluwe recounts what happens in this 2014 piece. "I was an NFL player until I was fired by two cowards and a bigot." This is from Deadspin in 2014. And Kluwe says he came into conflict with the special teams coach, Mike Prefer. And Prefer would say various anti-gay things like, "Hey, we should round up all the gays and send them to an island and then nuke it until it glows."
Bingo.
Prefer was later suspended by the team for some of the commentary. And Kluwe in this article then goes on and on and on about how the team stood by the homophobia instead of him. And that's why he was released. Okay, Chris Kluwe, if you were such a great punter and the team got rid of you because your controversial pro-gay views. Why couldn't you get another job punting on a non-bigot team? Because after the Vikings, the Oakland Raiders signed Chris Kluwe, but I guess the Oakland Raiders hate gays too, so he was cut by the Raiders. Back then it was the Oakland Raiders, now it's Las Vegas, of course. He was cut by the Raiders before the season even started, and that was it. Then he was out of the NFL. So every team hates the gays. The NFL hates the gays, but they allowed him to punt for 8 years while being vocally pro-gay, because why? By the way, the NFL lets wife beaters play. The NFL lets straight up murderers or murder accomplices, Ray Lewis, not just play, but get into the Hall of Fame. Point is, if you can play, really all the NFL cares about is, can you play football? That doesn't matter what kind of scumbag you are if you can play football. Same is true with Chris Kluwe. If we even grant the premise that supporting gay marriage is scumbaggery in the eyes of the NFL anyway. But it's not as though the NFL is anti-gay. They want, football is gay, says the NFL. They declared it in 2021. Football's gay. They want the game gay. They want the players gay. They want you gay while you watch it. They love that Chris Kluwe is, if not gay, he's gay adjacent, and proudly so. And Chris Kluwe, the NFL is saying football's gay, the NFL is gay, and Chris Kluwe is saying, no, I'm the only guy too gay for the NFL. Well, if anybody could do it, it would be Chris Kluwe, and he put on a fine performance down there in Huntington Beach. But I got to get to the big news of the weekend, the Joy Reid termination over at MSNBC. I'll get to that momentarily. Got to get my guest for the evening, Matt Palumbo from Bongino Report, and we're going to discuss that Joy Reid stuff among some other news items. So I will be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
Hello, sir.
Oh, we're not on the air, right?
Oh, we are on the air. So don't say anything. Don't say anything you'll regret. Can I get you to center up a little bit, maybe? We'll get you a little more. Yeah. There we go.
Maybe I should adjust.
And remember the lessons of last time. Eat that microphone.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, here I am, sir.
That is Matt Palumbo, content manager at BonginoReport.com and the author of a great many books, but including notably, relevant to some discussion we'll get to in a little bit, Man Behind the Curtain, all about George Soros. So,
yep.
But now Alex has claimed the reins. So
it's the next book.
Yeah. Oh, so you're already working on it. I thought you were out of the book business, but Alex Soros.
I did too, but then I figured I have one left in me. I've said that 5 times already, by the way. But yeah, I got 40,000 words of notes typed up, so I figure that's more than enough to work with. And one thing that's been helping a lot, and I don't know why I didn't think of this for the last book, it's kind of dumb on my part, is using a lot of foreign language sources. Because like I'll be you can even use Grok for this. Just say like, find me any articles mentioning Alex Soros in Albanian language articles, and it'll just pull a list, and you just go read every single one, and you have all this information that no one has reported on in the West. So it's a lot of the book's going to be actually almost all of it's going to be his influence in Europe minus one chapter.
Grok is your ghostwriter, confirmed, I guess. All right.
No,
I mean, it's a good business model. If you can pull it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't bury the lead any further because breaking news this morning, I didn't see it till I woke up. Joy Reid out at MSNBC. And so before we even talk about it, as is tradition on this stream, we will remember Joy Reid and her homophobia that was, of course, somehow maliciously installed on her old blog. Plus, of course, her TikTok glamour shots.
I will remember you.
What is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school?
Right. What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story, why don't they have the right?
Recently unearthed posts on her defunct blog from the 2000s, Reid appeared to crassly mock gay celebrities, defend homophobia as intrinsic to straight people, and imply that gay advocacy groups prey upon impressionable teens.
When a friend found them in December and sent them to me, I was stunned. Frankly, I couldn't imagine where they'd come from or whose voice that was. In the months since, I've spent a lot of time trying to make sense of these posts. I hired cybersecurity experts to see if somebody had manipulated my words. I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things because they are completely alien to me.
Can you believe those hackers were never found?
Well, you know, one of the sort of buried parts of that blog controversy was she had written about the Trump-Rosie O'Donnell feud and took Trump's side and talked about how funny he was and how great his insults were and all that. So that's who she was. I miss the old Joy Reid.
And you go back and read that blog, it's kind of funny. It really is. Like, Joy Reid had some edge and some spirit and some funny things to say, and she's been completely just sanitized over at MSNBC and brought into the propaganda and the hive mind. And it's crazy to look back like 15 years ago and think like, wow, based Joy Reid. She was onto something.
Yeah. Sanitized just means completely insane too, which is so weird. Weird how that works on MSNBC. But it's actually horrible news because like part of our job is getting clips that are hilarious when these people say crazy things, and I have no interest in the left moving to the center. Like at the DNC,
you don't even have to worry about that. Have you read the details of what's happening here? Okay, so
no, I have not. Go on.
So the readout is canceled. This is because they're shaking up a bunch of things over at MSNBC. They got a new network president, Rebecca Cutler. Okay, canceled, and then you read who's replacing. Oh, they're bringing in Simone Sanders, now Townsend, Michael Steele, and Alicia Menendez. Simone Sanders was the former manager of Bernie Sanders' campaign. She worked with Biden and Kamala Harris too. But I'm trying to think, give me a descriptor of Joy Reid that would not apply to Simone Sanders.
It's identical in both appearance and ideology.
Yes.
They're the same person. Yeah. Yes. So that's great news. I should have read the article.
Stunning and brave woman of color who's maybe a little chunky and has a lesbian haircut. And perfect. There's nothing I can say about this woman that doesn't just as validly apply to Joy Reid. So I don't think you have to worry about, not being able to do the clip harvest or anything like that. But
if anything, it's a fresh face for it. So even better.
You know what they should do is allow these two to fight for the time slot. Now, that would be the highest ratings that MSNBC has ever had if these two were in a cage match and the winner gets that MSNBC prime time slot.
Their viewership is regularly like what a YouTube show gets, like just a average kind of YouTube show. I don't get. I feel like a lot of the mainstream media, like I just feel like it's fake somehow because it's so capital intensive just to have a studio plus to rent the space in New York City or DC. And if you're getting even, let's just say, 250,000 people on a show, what does every viewer have to be worth to break even? Like, I get it's not YouTube where you're getting like $5 per 1,000, or I actually have no idea what it is, but I know it's
if you're getting that, you're getting a great deal. Holy crap!
Is that good?
That would be amazing. Yeah,
okay, well, you need $5,000 per 1,000 to make it there. So I just don't get like. I guess it's not USAID because they're still around, but it's I don't know. It's like when I see.
What are you talking? You say you've done all this Alex Soros research. You're like, who is funding this operation? I have no idea.
The media,
it is
not
Grok.
Alex.
It is Grok doing all your work. I knew it.
Two different things.
Did you also hear? Who's moving into prime time too? Is is Circle Back Girl Jen Psaki.
Nice.
Oh, where's my? I lost. Oh, there we go.
I'll have to just circle back.
I lost my button. But yes, Circle Back Girl Jen Psaki. Now, Jen Psaki's show. Did you know it's called Inside with Jen Psaki? You got to be careful. Inside with Jen Psaki. Not one word is very key to remember to enunciate. But yeah, they should have gone with Circle Back Girl. Obviously, that should have been the name of her show.
It's crazy because I thought she was the worst ever. And then with Karine Jean-Pierre, I kind of thought like, oh, she wasn't that bad. I mean, she actually did circle back, which she shouldn't have had to need to do that. It's embarrassing the fact she was that ill-prepared, but at least she would try. There was a time with Karine Jean-Pierre where I guess she had memorized a script in her head and she gave the answer it's like someone asked a question and she gave a scripted answer to the wrong question. Like that's.
I don't know if I remember that one, but that sounds very KJP. Yeah. Anyway, so Joy Reid's show is going to continue through this week. So I probably get the best ratings it's had in the history. The thing is, obviously MSNBC is not killing it, but MSNBC has performed better. It's improved its total viewership. Oh wait, no, that was their show. But overall, MSNBC apparently is up in its viewership, but see, I already confused them. Not Simone Sanders. Joy Reid, her viewership was actually down in the context of a network that is gaining viewership apparently, and I guess I would expect that with like Trump hate on the rise. But I think this week of Angry Joy Reid episodes is going to be the most viewed episodes in the history of the show. And I looked for a statement from Joy Reid. And then I remembered she rage quit X over Elon Musk, like many of them. So as far as I've seen, she hasn't even said anything about this.
No, I hope you do. I wish her the best.
Well, maybe she can come on this show, It's like Jim Acosta has his stream. Maybe Joy Reid will have hers. Hey, I'm looking for people. You want to come on, Joy? Great. That'll be great. Yeah. There were a few Joy Reid classic clips maybe we could go through, but I know you sent me a few. I want to get to those. I only picked out one because honestly, it's like when I made the Joe Biden farewell montage. It's like, what am I really going to do? There's a million. There's no way to narrow this down. Joy Reid is a comedy factory in that way too. But the one that I liked, maybe the highlight from the campaign season for me, was when she said that Joe Biden coming back from COVID is the equivalent of Donald Trump coming back from getting shot.
These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same?
Isn't it?
Well, hasn't Trump had COVID before? So why? I guess that one doesn't count. And even if we were to say her argument is true, which it actually might be, it's an argument against Biden that him getting the cold is the equivalent to getting shot in the face. So, and then the photo op comment, she's saying that as if Trump chose to have photographers there. It's just something that happens.
Well, why was he given 19 seconds during which to pose? And yeah, right. Why were there photographers there at a presidential candidate's event? We should really think about these, deep things that you don't actually question if you don't have the insight of someone like Joy Reid. But all right, you gave me some other nominations for honorary Joy Reid commentary. DEI isn't just for black people, it's for disabled veterans also.
And it also, I think, for a lot of conservatives, they believe DEI just means black people getting jobs. And so when they see a black person in any job, they say, oh, that person's a DEIer. They said it about the literal elected vice president of the United States.
Absolutely.
She wasn't hired. She was hired by the American people. 80 million Americans voted for her, but they can't see through her race and gender. So it isn't just about hiring black people and women, right? It's about disabled veterans being accommodated. It's veterans returning from wars are also under DEI.
Absolutely.
Yes, diversity means that guy with the missing leg from Mosul or something like that.
Yeah, someone had a statistic that, if you look at how much money we spend on housing on illegal aliens, like from the migrant crisis under Biden and add it all up, it's enough to buy the average sized home for every single homeless veteran in the entire country. So the idea that we're somehow prioritizing veterans in this country to any capacity when we're doing that is absurd.
You know who nobody ever hires? Veterans. God, they hate hiring veterans. They're so demonized in our society. No veteran can ever get an opportunity without DEI.
Man. And I don't know if you've noticed on social media, liberals are now using DEI as an insult. Like if it's a bunch of white people getting a job, they'll say it's DEI. So I feel like it is a minor cultural victory that we have turned DEI into an insult, even though they're trying to weaponize it against us unsuccessfully.
Well, I guess they've really come around then.
Yeah.
Here's another Joy Reid classic. If you have questions about transgenderism or the transgender agenda, obviously you're basically Hitler. You belong in 1930s Germany.
Targeting trans people isn't new. It is an age-old tradition, which Nazi Germany did with brutally violent ends in the 1930s. While the Supreme Court refuses to do anything about weapons of war in schools, today they seem to...
I mean, yeah, you're a Nazi. Yeah. So, okay, of course.
The thing, that meme where it's everyone around a table of like different backgrounds and then it shows the one thing they agree on. Like you could go from Orthodox Jews to Nazis to Hamas to the Catholic Church to us, and we all agree this is insane. Like everyone except progressives of the past 10 years thinks that's completely nuts.
Thank you for the appropriate time window, because I bet you could go to the Joy Reid blog circa 2008 and find some based tranny takes if you want.
I want to look one up right now. I know we probably can on the show. Hold on.
Well, if you want to search, go for it. But I think that was probably, 2000, like when she was writing that stuff, 2008 or so, that was really before the tranny era. I've said it a million times, but like I went to school on a very progressive college campus in Portland, Oregon, between 2006 and 2010. I never saw any trannies. That was not a thing there. Like the trans era had yet to bloom. And so Joy Reid probably just wasn't writing about it.
My favorite argument for why like the percent of trans kids is up tens of thousands of percent is because, there's a growing social acceptance of it. And I'm thinking, like, for that to be true, you have to think that there are 3-year-olds who are reading public opinion polls and like have their finger on the national pulse on national issues. And like, I could see the argument I think is true for gay people in general, but for trans, like there's no way people that young are fielding, what public opinion is and then making a choice.
One might suspect the parents might have something to do with that. You sent me this one too. She's talking about after the election. Well, they had all these rigging operations in various states, by which she means like cleaning up the voter rolls. But one of her go-to citations is all the rigging that was done in Wyoming.
You've got in Ohio, the Ohio Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, purged nearly 160,000 people from the state's voter rolls. In Wyoming, a state that's not even in play, they voided 28% of their voter registrations in a mandatory purge. And
a state that's not even in play. Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what that means. They want to go from 70% to 75 for some reason.
God, those cowboys out in Wyoming. You never can trust them. All right. Did you have any other Joy Reid thoughts before we move along to Mr. Congressman Garcia?
No, I found like 50 different clips, and I just picked them at random because I couldn't decide between them. So, no, they're all kind of interchangeable, to be honest, but they're all gold as well.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about this because it is... I love watching Democrats squirm on their own swords. And I know that you're probably never going to see these things prosecuted. It's not really going to matter other than just enjoying watching these people try to explain how what they attempted to prosecute Trump for is totally different when they do it. And we've seen the Justice Department do that in a couple of contexts now. So there's this new DC U.S. attorney. His name is Edward Martin. And he warned Chuck Schumer couple weeks ago because Chuck Schumer, he warned him of a potential investigation or prosecution because back in 2020, as I'm sure you've seen, Chuck Schumer did a rally outside the Supreme Court or somewhere in D.C., and he said, I'm talking to you, Kavanaugh, I'm talking to you, Gorsuch, warning them that that if they don't decide abortion cases correctly, they won't know what hit them. And this U.S. attorney sends him a letter like, hey, that sounds kind of like incitement to violence. So you may face investigation or prosecution for that. Well, now we have another similar case with Congressman Robert Garcia from Long Beach, California. On February 12th, so this is last week, Garcia, or maybe a week and a half ago, whatever. Garcia said on CNN that Democrats, they need to bring actual weapons to fight Elon Musk and, of course, Donald Trump by extension.
And what I think is really important and what the American public want is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight for democracy, for the future of this country.
Okay. Actual weapons. To an
so is
actual
that metaphorical, fight. According to the left, for some reason?
According to him, yes. Yeah. So but his response is even interesting. Did you see the letter that he posted? The letter that he got?
No.
So he got this letter from, again, the D.C. U.S. Attorney Edward Martin. Hey, could you clarify? It doesn't threaten prosecution. It just says, could you clarify what you meant when you said we want actual weapons in an actual fight? And Congressman Garcia posted this to X himself, and again used somewhat questionable phrasing. Now, I'm not saying he's committing incitement here. I'm just saying if you're worried about like quasi-violent language, he said Congress must have the right to forcefully oppose the Trump administration. So forcefully oppose with actual weapons in an actual fight. That's where we are. And to your point, then Garcia goes on CNN and he says, well, obviously any reasonable person knows that when I say actual several times, obviously I mean metaphorical.
I think it's pretty clear, Jake. I mean, no reasonable person would view what I said, of course, here on CNN as a threat. It's a figure of speech. I think it's one that's pretty well known and pretty common. And I think what's really disturbing about this is that essentially the Department of Justice under Donald Trump is going to try to silence opposition and try to silence people that are actually taking on and trying to actually bring attention to what Elon Musk is actually trying to do to our agencies.
But just the word actual is standing out there. And you don't mean actual weapons, you mean rhetorical weapons.
Of course. I mean, I was talking about a rhetorical bar fight.
But he said actual fight.
Yeah, apparently it's a common expression I've never heard before. But I made a list of kind of innocuous things or statements that the left had said are violent or incitement to violence, like clearly or not.
Yeah.
So we got Trump saying it was a bloodbath when referring to the auto industry.
Of course, yeah.
We got Trump saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts, which is self-defense. It's not real violence. Trump urging
or justified, yeah.
Trump urging his supporters to fight like hell. Trump calling journalists enemies of the people. Trump saying that Mexico is sending rapists. Trump telling his supporters to hit back 10 times harder, which he's not. These are obviously metaphorical. He's not saying actually like the rep was.
So I love about it. I obviously, as a pro free speech guy, and someone who understands the incitement standard from the Supreme Court, I really don't think these cases are prosecutable. I don't think they satisfy those incitement criteria. And I also don't necessarily know that I don't want them prosecuted, even though I don't like these people politically. But it's the actual thing. I just can't get over. I also understand words, and actual has a definition. So when you say reasonable people understand that when I say actual, what I mean is the opposite of actual. No, I don't understand that at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know how, remember liberals would even say silence is violence? Like that's where we're at in terms of what's considered violence, but this, I guess, doesn't count. I mean, listen, there's no way this guy actually is going to. I mean, just look at him, but still, it's, as has been said, the hypocrisy is the worst part.
I don't know. He looks like maybe he could throw down in a bar fight, like broken bottle of Dos Equis or Corona. Just throw some salt in the wound.
Metaphorically.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a shot of tequila, really loosen himself up. I think he could do it. A better chance than Chris Kluwe. If I had to decide who was going to win in a physical fight, I'll take Congressman Garcia.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Tell me about your new, this article that you just published this week about the rising influence of Alex Soros George Soros still alive, but like, is he? I don't know.
So he's officially handed off his empire to his son in 2023. So Alex is heading the Open Society Foundations, which is behind every headline you see with few exceptions. But George is still running his hedge fund, and he's been buying up like a lot of radio stations. He bought up Odyssey. He bought up a lot of the biggest Hispanic stations in Miami because obviously they're they trend more conservative there. So he is still active. I mean, he's trying to frame those as just purely investments, but it's just not believable. But with this story, so it's been making headlines starting in 2023 onward that Alex had been increasingly visiting the White House, and he had even posted photos with Kamala Harris. So there's no doubt about it. But he had been going since Biden's first year in office, and he started ramping up the visits in 2022, and then throughout the end of his presidency. And
really quick interruption.
Yeah,
is he romantically involved with Huma Abedin now? Is that?
Oh, they're engaged.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
So
okay. How does Anthony Weiner feel about that?
It's an upgrade for her. I mean, good for her, I guess. She's set for life. But yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre because he used to always be with like a model or something. I mean, money helps, obviously. So she's, I would expect him with someone younger, to be honest. But anyway, back to the White House.
I'm sure it's just because they really love each other a lot. That's why they're engaged.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But back to the White House. So my friend Joe Vasquez and I were thinking, there's been a lot of articles about the visits and who he met with, but not speculating really much on what they might have talked about. So we thought, why don't we go through the archives and then we'll just sort of see, did anything correlate, maybe a week or two after, or was there anything leading up before and after? And in about 2/3 of the cases, there was some, something related to a climate change issue or climate related announcement. And climate has been his number one issue for as long as he's been politically active. I mean, even back when he was in college in his early 20s, he was going to the Amazon rainforest. He was meeting with activists in Peru. The first article he ever wrote was on climate change. So that's sort of the main thing we found. And a lot of it's just sort of random, obscure energy policies that I think would be kind of boring if I went through them one by one. But the main thing we found that was interesting was there was a day, it was May 23rd of last year, where the president of Kenya came to visit. He did a speech with Biden. It was about 11 in the morning. And it was the first visit from an African leader in 15 years to the White House. Alex Soros was in attendance. I think the photo above is with the president of Kenya. And the president of the Open Society Foundations is also there. He's from Kenya himself. And later that day at 6:00, Alex meets with President Biden. That same day, our energy department signs a memorandum of understanding with Kenya's Ministry of Energy. The Open Society Foundation in East Africa is headquartered in Nairobi, and there was also a Soros-backed and USAID-backed group that was writing on this event, hailing it, praising it, and all that. So and then, a series of energy-related deals were announced. So we were speculating that, it's very, very well possible that's why Alex was there for that meeting, had to do with this. And, obviously we're not a fly on the wall. All we can do is correlate events. But, no one else had really done this yet. So we just went through every single date. And there was a lot we could, there was... I don't know, a handful, I should say, where we couldn't find anything. But I think it's worth a read for, completely biased reasons.
Yeah, head on over to newsbusters.org if you want to check it out. I should have linked it in the description while live. I forgot, but I will link it later when the stream is over for people to find. Now that, of course, so obviously Alex Soros exercising influence in Democrat circles in D.C., and it sounds like what you're talking about is under the former Biden administration. What do you think he's doing now that he doesn't have the White House to work with?
Well, I guess he's sort of the hashtag resistance now, apparently. But
Okay.
so after losing, big league in the election, he donated $250,000 to a DNC candidate for chair, Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn co-founder, who has some suspicious ties to Epstein. Also,
Did he support
donated that
David
much.
Hogg for vice chair?
He did not support the Hog Army, no.
Oh,
but this candidate he backed, he was the head of the Wisconsin Democratic Party.
Okay.
I think it was the Wisconsin Democrats. Either that or Milwaukee. I'm embarrassed to be forgetting, but that candidate got 70% of all the money and lost. So that was a nice sign. I mean, some other, original research in the book has to do with DAs that Alex has funded since taking over. And the most notable one, which I'm going to start the chapter with, is there was a woman named Kim Ogg in Texas who George Soros funded. And she... most of the DAs were making publicly insane statements, and then George would fund them, and it was kind of obvious what they would do. He more gave to her as a bribe, hoping she would then implement a bunch of far-left policies, and she implemented a few early on, and then crime went up, so she just reversed them and stopped doing that at all. She actually ended up opening up a corruption investigation into a Soros-backed judge, and she's now out of office, but she encourages people to support Republican judges and prosecutors. So she completely flipped from her experience with implementing Soros policies. But the reason she's out of office is because Alex Soros funded a prosecutor to run against the George Soros prosecutor for not being insane. So that's
Inter-Soros conflict. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure George was on board. Obviously,
so
she wasn't doing.
It sounds
what she
like
wanted,
Alex
but...
is sneaking into that room to put a pillow over his dad's face very soon. I guess I assumed it was his grandson because the age difference looks so massive. But George must have been quite old when
prolific.
Yeah, sure. He was the Elon Musk of his era, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, when is that book coming out, by the way?
I don't know. I mean, my manuscript due date is July 1st, although they'll probably have like an Amazon pre-order page before that if the cover is done. And then usually it's 6 months from there, but we're going to try to get this one out actually pretty quickly. I mean, I'm going to try to get it done in maybe 2 months from now. So.
Well, if you would like to read some well-researched Palumbo work on the Soros empire, of course, The Man Behind the Curtain, all about George Soros. This came out in, 2022? It's been a few years now, right? So I've got that linked in the description if you'd like to pick up the book. You've got 1,200 Amazon reviews on this book. That's quite a lot.
Yeah,
that's
all
nice
the
pull.
1 stars didn't even read it, too, which is really frustrating.
And it's still 4.5.
Yeah, it's not bad. Also, I don't know... I didn't know how to drop this information, but I found out 10 minutes before the show that my boss is now deputy director of the FBI.
My wife texts me. So, I didn't want to I saw, not that listen, my wife is a very reliable source, but I didn't want to put you on the spot because I didn't know if that's true or, okay, so what do you know, if anything, about breaking news? Dan Bongino, your deputy FBI director under Kash Patel, correct?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
I'm now the deputy FBI director.
You're the assistant to the deputy director, sort of.
Not really.
Not in that capacity, I guess. But you run a website that he, Bongino Report. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found out on Saturday, I found out on Friday, but obviously I wasn't allowed to tell anyone. And I run BonginoReport.com, which is a news aggregator that we started to compete with Drudge. So that's still going to stay up. Nothing's changing there. We aren't sure yet if we're going to have to change the name, but if we do, if you type in the URL to the old site, it'll redirect. So I'm in charge of coming up with a new name if we have to. So we'll see.
It is now ChristiansenReport.com. That's what you reroute. You reroute Bongino Report to mattis.gay. That's what you do. Okay, but is this going to change Dan's work at all, as far as his radio show, as far as all of his productions? What's going to happen there, if anything?
So that'll be on hold. The radio show, although my understanding was, but we had a brief call, but I think they may keep the show and have either a new host or series of hosts and make it more of an interview type show. That was my understanding. And then like I'm still gonna be writing for his website and all that. So my day-to-day isn't really gonna change at all. We just might have to rebrand some of the socials and all that. But he'll be returning to everything as usual when he's done with the job.
All right. Well, yeah, keep me up to date with what you learn. And of course, congratulations to Dan and you by extension. And congratulations on the book that you're working on. But that is my guest, Matt Palumbo, content manager at BonginoReport.com. Of course, I have your book, Man Behind the Curtain, Inside the Secret Network of George Soros, linked atop the description. Matt, Is there anywhere else you'd like to direct people to find you?
It's Twitter, Matt Palumbo 12. I mean, no one really engages with my tweets, so wink, wink, hint, hint. Please do to get me some engagement. But
you suck.
No, that's pretty much it. I'm on there. I can't get off Twitter since Elon Musk took it over.
Do you have? I thought you had your account privated though, or have you unprivated it?
Well, I did, so it was less embarrassing that no one would reply to my tweets. But I whatever.
That's why you did it.
Yeah,
I know. I will mask my.
Joke's on them. It's not me now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, at Matt Palumbo 12. Forget about the prior 11. You can follow everything Matt Palumbo related over there. Well, thanks for stopping by, man, and thanks for the information. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you. See yourself out, please. There he goes, Matt Palumbo. BonginoReport.com at Matt Palumbo 12. I'm late to get to Super Chat, so that's what I got to do next. I'm going to go find Hunky Buck, and once again, I will be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
I got you, but I also got a problem. I got some nasty hissing coming off you.
Off of me?
Yeah, your mic something's not right. Input, I don't know. Microphone. You got to get that figured out though. So I'll have to let you go and I'll get you back, all right?
How can you hear me now?
Sounds like you're in a fishbowl. Go take care of it, and I'll hold on. Just go take care of it and hop back in the call, and I'll get to some chats. All right, the duct tape rolls on. Sorry about that. But you got to hop out of the. Hold on. There we go. All right. Well, anyway, thank you. Sorry about the technical problems. They happen. But let's get into your chats. Oh, I'm such an idiot. I don't even. God, dude. Speaking of unpreparedness, I don't even have the chats open myself. This is a disaster. Let me get my chats open. Hopefully we can get started. Oh, my God. One day I'll learn how to stream. Okay. Here we go. Long Dong John, Ping 2, is now the undefeated 3-time Matt and I Once Made Love world champion. Congratulations. That's right. 3 times and 3 times only. It's a very limited opportunity. Thank you, Long Dong John. All right, let's see. Let's try our friend Hunky Buck once more. All right, you got the right audio?
You tell me. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, wait. We got commitment to the bit.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knuckles.
And now it's time for Super Chats with Knuckle Hunky Buck.
I'm a knucklehead at times.
All right, Mr. Knucklehead. I'm glad you got it figured out.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I don't even know what that was. I just hopped out of the call, hopped back in, and it was fine.
Weird. I don't know. That was definitely a bizarre connection. But
I did unplug the USB and plug it back in, so maybe there was just I don't know. It's fixed now.
You could be a tech support guy. You could move to India and answer people.
That's like what we were talking about in the hangout tonight. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?
Yeah, but you got to say it with an Indian accent to be authentic. Yeah. That's how you really give the tip. I shouldn't phrase it that way. That's weird. Anyway. So I got Long Dong John, Injured Guardian. You and your wife should read Fellowship of the Ring. You know, I've only read Return of the King, and I read it for like an English class book project, I think my sophomore year of high school. I've never read any of the other Tolkien books, just Return of the King, which seems weird since it's the conclusion of the Lord of the Rings saga. But are you a Lord of the Rings guy?
I am not. I never read the books when everybody was so excited when the movies were coming out. I went with friends to see the first one, and I occasionally woke up when there was a giant orc battle and then fell right back asleep for the rest of it. And didn't bother with the rest of them for years until a girlfriend ended up making me sit down and watch all three of them in a row. And there are epic moments in them. I'm not going to say they're without value, but not my cup of tea.
Huh. And then she never called you again, I take it.
No, we were, I won't get into that situation with her.
All right. Vanessa's up next.
All right. Vanessa Stuller. We've got the only reason to celebrate rainbows is for rainbow babies. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I don't know if it's a rainbow baby or not, but I'll take it.
We love you. You're very special.
Have you had any? I mean, it's a baby following, like, you know, a loss. You
is
lost a member of your
I didn't
family.
know what that was. Oh, so that actually is very kind. I thought you were calling my baby gay.
No. I saw that super chat come in when it came in real time, and I had to look up what a rainbow baby was.
I've never
just
heard
to
that.
know the term. I
Okay.
hadn't either.
See,
That was a
rainbows have been
Wikipedia thing, yeah.
completely hijacked because when it makes sense. As though you look at a rainbow and you see that lost family member or lost loved one, and
It's symbolizing peace after a storm.
exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Sorry, they've done this to me, Vanessa. I hear rainbow, I think gay. Okay, it's what they've done to me.
Well, that's why you've got somebody to help research, so you don't just take offense at something.
How
Instead,
dare
I can
you,
figure
bitch?
Out, yeah.
No, thank you, Vanessa. Mark LaFlame, dude, you breathe like a fly. Just kidding. Congratulations. I'm always going to be happy to hear that there will be more of you out in the world. Have 10 more and the world will be better for it. Well, thank you very much. I don't know about 10 more, but we hope this is not the end. And of course, I don't count them before they hatch either. We got a long way to go, but all signs from the medical professionals are good at this point.
You know, speaking of breeding like a fly, I've always thought it's kind of off topic, but I've always thought it's kind of weird when, like, you know, like those smooth black guys when they're like trying to like hit on a woman and they're like, and they do that. You've seen that move before, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That's always reminded me of a fly getting ready to eat some shit. Like I that's such a weird thing to do, like when you're attracted to a woman.
I've heard the sound. I don't know that I've seen a guy. You're talking about like the hand rubbing meme,
It's
like the guy behind the
specifically
tree.
like an up and down.
Oh,
Like
it's not even. It's not rotational.
Girl.
It's up and down. Okay.
Yeah. It's a thing I've noticed.
All right. Cultural breakdown. Oh no, you're up. You're up to read.
I am. Cultural breakdown. Congrats on the new kid. My wife and I are expecting our third in late September too. Our others will be 4 and 2. Yeah, congratulations, Matt. That's huge. That's awesome.
We love you. You're very special.
I appreciate it. It's been a hell of a year, and we're looking forward to some new beginnings. So I can't wait. I'll be happy with a healthy baby either way, but I definitely admit that after 2 boys, I kind of hope it's a daughter. I hope I get the chance to raise a daughter too.
Yeah, and I'm in my 40s, and so like it's not entirely likely, but I still haven't given up on the idea that I might start a family.
You shouldn't. Yeah.
So I mean, Robin D. Banksy, if you're still out there, like we gotta catch up. We gotta beat this guy.
It's an emergency call, please, Robin. We gotta populate. I don't even know what the mashup would be. Hunky Banks. How about something like that?
Well, no, she would change her name to Robin D. Hunky Buck.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not hyphenated. It's not D Banks dash Hunky Buck. Okay. Kevin Riggs, thank you for your support for the show. Much appreciated.
I am not going to be niggardly.
All right. I've got Brandon Wilkes. Hey, Matt, coincidences abound. My wife's grandmother died 2 days ago. Sorry to hear that. And at the same time, our son was born. Congratulations. Third child, first boy. Glad to hear about your third. Maybe you're not gay after all.
We love you. You're very special.
Well, the gays have their ways these days too, so I don't know. I mean, there are ways around everything, it seems. That is pretty crazy. The coincidence there, not just the birth, but the passing of your grandmother. And I'm sorry to hear that, but of course, I wish the best to your family and congratulations on the new addition.
And Brandon, maybe you're just misgendering her. Maybe she has been a lesbian the whole time.
Yeah, it could be. There are many possibilities. Injured Guardian, congratulations on the little one. Buy all three boys the aforementioned Smith & Wesson knives. Then buy Hayden an I Don't Like Sand t-shirt. Okay, so this is that one. I don't get that one. What is that about?
It's because it's coarse and irritating and it gets everywhere. Hayden Christiansen.
Oh, yeah.
Darth Vader.
Right. I've been over this. How did I not know the Star Wars reference? Yes, I know that my son is named the Anakin Skywalker actor name. I went through this back when the decision was made. But he has outs. If he wants to get a different name, he has outs. He's actually named after his dad, so he can become Matthew Jr. if he wants. He's Hayden Matthew. So he has that out if he wants.
There you go. Or he could just turn to the dark side because sand is coarse and irritating and it gets everywhere.
How do I not remember that reference though? What is that from? Like what?
It's the scene where he's like, that's his big romantic scene with Natalie Portman.
So this
Queen
must
Amidala.
be in episode 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't remember that, but I guess I haven't seen it in forever.
It's such a meme. It's such a meme. Anyways, K. Drake. I hear the Pope is really sick. He probably caught bird flu. He is always surrounded by a bunch of cardinals. Or maybe it's monkeypox.
All right. I will.
Hit that with an I love you.
I love you.
I like the wordplay with the cardinals there.
That's clever. Thank you, K. Drake.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm big on wordplay.
I have noticed that. Yeah. Okay. You want to read one more? I just got to set up my my accounting of these super chats. If you can help me out.
I've got Tortuga with congratulations on the new baby, Matt. Hope for a girl. You'll need someone to love you when the boys are teenagers.
Well, there's going to be a lot of ask your mother conversation.
That's what the audience is for, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose.
Half of them are going to tell you to like, oh, I hope that your wife stubs her toe in the other room and you hear her
step on a Lego, a fate far worse.
Oh, Jesus. Whew. Those demon people have really sent you monstrous threats.
Thank you, Tortuga. Very much appreciated. Hope you and your family are well. But yeah, I wonder, it's like, if we get a girl or some girls in the mix, is it going to be like, I don't know. We're going to have to, I just wonder if there'll be rivalry. Will there be like the men's wing of the house and the women's wing of the house and they're at war, or will they all get together? I don't know.
Does Tortuga get a Bernie? I don't know what yen is. How much is big in yen?
I think that's actually like, I think that is about $10 in US dollars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although we appreciate it very much.
We sure do.
It's just he actually is being N-wordly. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Miserly.
Yeah. Ooga Booga Lou. Condolences on your family's loss. Congratulations on the new upcoming edition. Mrs. Ooga Booga and I are expecting our first in August. That's great. We just found out that it is going to be a baby girl.
We love you. You're very special.
Congratulations to you and your wife, and all the best with your baby girl.
How does everybody know the genders of their babies before they've even had a chance to ask?
I don't know. A bunch of bigots, of course. All right, let's stop YouTube there. I will come back to your YouTube and Tippy stream chats at the end of the show, but let's move on over to Rumble. Yakko, 1977. A.G. Bondi has said that the Epstein list is on her desk and is being reviewed. Do you think if there's even one redaction that the release is illegitimate, or is it better than nothing? I want it all. I'll just believe it when I see it. I mean, I know they're saying all this stuff about the Epstein client list, like you're talking about. There's the direction from the president to release the JFK and RFK and Martin Luther King files and all that. Whenever the government is going to release information soon, I reduce expectations to the floor. But any information is better than what we have now, which is none on that topic.
I think a good strategy for Trump would be to come out and say that he wants to release the Epstein list, but he wants to make sure that certain names are trimmed from it to protect, like the potential innocence or something. Just make some claim that supposedly justifies why he wants to redact some names. That forces the media to come out howling that he can't redact a single name.
Or just do some troll move, like it's a bunch of just make the joke names that rhyme with the person. Like it was Schmill Schmitten who was
I knew that was the first one you were gonna
and I know
say.
people will make Donald Trump hung out with Epstein too. Fine, whatever. I'm not looking to protect anybody on this client list. Just make the names funny ones. Get around it that way.
Yeah. Schmillery Schlinton.
All right, you got Steve.
I'm not suicidal. Steve, OUK. My wife is pregnant again, so it'd be rude to ask what you've been up to.
Once in a while, it happens. Thank you, Steve. Raven Dawn, congratulations. Thank you. Peter K, 2003. Do you think that any Hollywood executives have considered a reboot of the TV show New Girl, starring Zooey Zephyr? I like that one.
I love you.
Zooey, if people don't know, is the trans Montana state legislator.
Okay. Sounds like she could join the Zimians or whatever with Zim and
the
Zar.
Zizians with Ziz.
Okay, with Ziz and what was it? Zarjo.
Her name is Michelle Zajko. Yeah.
Yeah. Zim and Zajko and Zoe Zephyr.
Okay, I just got a text from my wife.
What the is this?
Apparently she was not happy with how I described the situation. All right.
I didn't say it. That was a super chatter that said. All right. I've got Haughty Twerkman. The Canadians played their trump card. We agree to all your demands, President Trump, if you take Elizabeth May back. Deal, Trump said, if Justin discloses the results of a paternity test.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna allow that one too.
I love you.
Took a little bit to unroll, but I see what you're doing there. Justin Trudeau, Castro joke in.
All right.
Then we got iBot, of course.
Lbot.
This is why you're here.
That's why.
I am not going to be niggardly.
So Lbot gets
not for comedy, just to correct names.
Yes.
And then I hope you have that sounder ready for Raymond Donovan is gay.
Yeah, I do. In fact, I think he's going to get 2 of them. But go ahead.
All right. I am a man of habit. Give yourself a hydroponics kit for that one. Congrats. God bless your family.
I am not going to be niggardly.
I love you.
For crediting my joke, you're going to get an entry. I appreciate that. Thank you, Raymond Donovan.
Well, if I don't qualify for a hydro kit, you for damn sure do not qualify for a hydro kit.
I'm not qualifying myself. I'm qualifying Raymond Donovan for cleverly recognizing my own joke.
I'm just arguing with Raymond Donovan. He doesn't. This guy doesn't get a hydro kit.
Likes to watch, says, another Matt Jr. I'm sure you already went over this at the start. I'm getting here late and I'll hear it when I catch the replay, but I had to stop by and give some support. Cheers. Well, thank you kindly. Appreciate it. Likes to watch. And you can go. That's exactly what it sounds like. But by all means, please go back and listen. Okay. Just a few more over on Odyssey here. I probably won't be able to get to all of these because I got to keep it moving here. Or at least I won't be able to get to all of them right now. But
I'm almost surprised based on his username that likes to watch didn't already know that you had a kid coming.
Yeah, it's as though he doesn't even. Thank you. Blankets, Matt, do you have a favorite and least favorite movie genre? Not really, because there are great movies of all genres. So it depends on the mood, depends what you want. But there's no genre of movie that I'm like, oh, that always sucks. Likewise, there's no genre that I think that's always great either. Do I prefer cupcakes or muffins? What kind of psychopath would prefer muffins to cupcakes? Is that even a question? You got to take the cupcake because I assume frosting is a given. Do you disagree?
I'm not a big sweets guy, so I can do without sugar.
How dare you?
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to prefer bitter. I like my this is unsweetened tea. This is just some Earl Grey.
Wow, you are a Chris Kluwe level
coffee.
of man right there. Like you are just absolutely tough to consume that. Okay.
Just not a big sugar guy. I don't know.
Bitter muffins it is. Savory muffins it is. Blankets, Matt, do you think if Elon started his own sports team on Mars with his kids, his team would be the Martians? All right. All right.
I love you.
Yuck. Okay. Let me get that one entered. Oh, man. I forget. Next time I do this, I'm going to get a more efficient system of data entry. All right.
Well, and maybe what you should do is next time, like you read from one pool while I'm reading like from Rumble. So like I can be reading one while you're entering another one in from like Odyssey or whatever.
Well, I'm going to have to call it there and come back to your chats at the end of the stream.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
Do you have a joke upon parting?
Well, I've noticed lately there have been some super chats and sometimes in the live chat people talk about a lot of dropouts in the stream. And I was just wondering, do you think that maybe some of Trump's cuts have been a contributing factor in that?
I do know we had a lot of USAID sponsored viewers.
People are saying.
Yeah, USAID was responsible for a bulk of my audience for sure. All right.
Get the hell out of here.
Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you, sir.
There he goes, Knuckle Hunky Buck.
I'm a knucklehead at times.
We appreciate his contribution to the show, but I got to get back into the news. Where did I leave off? I think what I need to get to, is Trump and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or Joint Chief, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, firing that guy. So, big story of the weekend. Trump has relieved General Charles Q. Brown, or CQ Brown, in his role as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This, of course, is the group of our most senior military leadership. That happened on Friday night. There were 6 more who were fired as well. Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the first woman to lead the Navy, General James Slife, the vice chief of the Air Force, and the top lawyers at the Army, Navy, and the Air Force as well. Trump actually nominated CQ Brown as Air Force chief in 2020. And then CQ Brown became chairman of the Joint Chiefs under Biden in 2023 after Mark Milley left. And this is being drummed up as some sort of scandal because traditionally military leadership stays on through different presidential administrations. I mean, that may be tradition, but there is a qualifier on that. Well, there are 2. These military leaders serve at the pleasure of the commander-in-chief, and generally they stay around when they do a good job, or at least that's the idea. And these military leaders, or the military generally, over the last few years, particularly under Joe Biden, has had a pretty bad run. Not doing a good job. I think of things like the Afghanistan disaster and the injection of progressive politics into the forces, which of course have corresponded with a drastic recruiting problem across all the branches. And so Donald Trump is replacing military leadership, as he campaigned saying he would do. And then Pete Hegseth became defense secretary on the premise of replacing military leadership. So people voted for this. The current defense secretary made his presentation to the Senate for confirmation based on this premise, and now they're doing that. But it has to be made into a controversy. Oh, what is this? Is this an acceptable exercise of presidential authority? Martha Raddatz on ABC. She brings on George Casey this morning. George Casey is the former Army Chief of Staff. And after he explains, this is so wrong and so corrupt, blah, 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 blah. And she asks him a mildly challenging question because it turns out one of these guys who got fired said, well, I'm disappointed to leave, but that is the president's role. That is the president's job description, is to be able to put people in positions of military leadership that he sees fit. And so the lightest challenge to this case results in George Casey saying, Trump is completely in his power to do this. And people voted for him on the premise that he would do this.
Let me read you something from one of the men who was fired, General James Slife, who is the vice chief of the Air Force. He said the president and secretary of defense deserve to have generals they trust, and the force deserves to have generals who have credibility with our elected appointed officials. While I'm disappointed to leave under these circumstances, I wouldn't want the outcome to be any different. So why shouldn't the president be able to choose the people
he should. In fact, I may disagree with the timing and everything of these removals. But it is significantly within the president's prerogative. That's his prerogative. He is the commander in chief of the armed forces, and we follow the directives of our civilian leaders.
But you're saying shouldn't have done it that way, or there should be cause, or the people, or he does not understand.
It should be better explained. And again, I honestly don't think it was necessary, because if they want to change the direction, they can change the policies and not the people.
Oh, it should have been better explained. We need more of an explanation. Well, here's the explanation. The military is doing poorly lately. We got completely embarrassed in a foreign theater of war. We have men parading around as women throughout the ranks. We need strong men to win wars again. That's your explanation. And I say that as someone, I don't want war. Most people don't, especially don't want war in a foreign context. But any country that is to survive has to be able to defend itself. And that means strength. There's your explanation for why the change in leadership. We need strength again. End of explanation. Meanwhile, Trump and company currently attempting to negotiate some sort of end to the war in Ukraine. On Saturday, as in yesterday, Trump said an agreement is close. And this agreement that they're talking about would involve potentially Ukraine sharing some mineral revenue with the U.S. or mineral rights, mining rights, rights to certain resources in the country. And that, in theory, would help recoup the billions of dollars in military aid that the U.S. has given Ukraine for the last, 3 years now. And Trump has actually personally been at odds with Ukraine and Zelensky recently, calling Zelensky a dictator, saying that Ukraine started the war, or they should have done more to prevent the outbreak of the war. And as part of this negotiation here, people are now accusing Trump of exploiting a vulnerable Ukraine for resources. Oh, we just want to take all their stuff, rather than helping out a vulnerable country in need. And so Trump and company, as part of these ongoing negotiations, they've gone straight to Vladimir Putin to talk. Remember, the prior administration was not talking to Vladimir Putin at all. Now there's direct communication between the U.S. and Putin. That has irritated Zelensky as well. Zelensky was saying, I won't accept any deal that I'm not a party to if it's negotiated between the U.S. and Russia or something like that. But all of these competing narratives, they were part of this NBC reporting on Friday, which I saw Friday morning. I just found it to be enraging. As always, the idea is U.S. not doing enough for Ukraine. Ukraine is owed everything. The U.S. is the bad guy somehow, not according to our own media, who usually hold that opinion, but according to a Ukrainian soldier quoted in the story. Now, in fairness, he's not saying we're the bad guy like Russia. We're just a bad guy, just not as bad of a guy, because, of course, as always, we're not helping Ukraine enough.
Zelensky also laid out what he expects in return, calling for a reliable and clear system of security guarantees that ensure long-term protection from Russia. American and Ukrainian officials tell NBC News the Trump administration presented Zelensky with the proposed mineral deal last week, giving him an hour to sign it. Zelensky refused, saying it didn't make security guarantees explicit. He was told Trump would be angry. And President Trump did respond angrily, falsely accusing Zelensky of being a dictator, and now making it clear he wants that deal signed. In Ukraine this morning, at a rehabilitation center for soldiers just back from the front lines, some say they feel like they're being squeezed by the United States. But Sergeant Volodymyr Chaika doesn't oppose the deal in principle after what he's seen in combat over the last 3 years.
Some critics have said that President Trump is exploiting Ukraine, is taking advantage of its position right now in order to extract resources. What do you think about that?
Between two evils, you have to pick the better one, he says. If I have to choose between the United States and the possibility that Russia will take over our country, I pick the United States.
Okay, so we're just the lesser of two evils. So please cut us a slightly less evil check. Or give us some slightly less evil military aid. No matter how big it is, it's not big enough. You evil demons who are just slightly less evil than Russia. Well, how about no more evil? How about we just stop the evil? Less evil in your life, Mr. Ukrainian man, will we just go away? That sounds like a deal, if you'd like less evil around. Of course, you heard in the reporting there, falsely accusing Zelensky of being a dictator. And of course, a lot of media reports, oh, Trump was wrong, it's false. They always have to qualify it. And sure, Zelensky was a democratically elected leader. I say was because there's an argument that he's not currently. Okay, even if the term dictator is exaggerated, he's not really elected anymore, is he? And that's the point that has to be included with that dispute on the use of the term. Zelensky should have been up for re-election spring 2024, this time last year. He was not, because the election was postponed. Oh, but that's normal. That's Ukrainian law. Under the Ukrainian constitution, it's not legal to hold elections when there's martial law. Okay, well then stop the martial law. If democracy is so important, democracy is the paramount value for which we are supporting Ukraine. That's why everyone has to support Ukraine. It's a fight of democracy versus authoritarianism. If democracy is the paramount value, find a way to hold the elections. Oh, well, that's not practical because there are air raids and all sorts of threats of war. As many are commenting on X this week, and I think is a fair point, we held an election in this country in the Civil War, 1864. After years of fighting across this country and before the Civil War had concluded, we held an election in 1864 and Abe Lincoln was reelected. Now, I get it, like, the technology of war was different then. We're talking about air raids in this story that didn't really exist in the Civil War, and I suppose maybe the threats are more serious now than they are then. But my point is it's possible, and it doesn't seem like the effort to make it happen is serious. It seems like, well, we just postpone it to infinity and beyond, and Zelensky is the leader as long as he needs to be the leader because democracy. Okay. As far as the claim that the U.S. is exploiting Ukraine, yes, we are exploiting them for resources. That is rich. The deal, I guess, here is from the U.S. Here's $200 billion worth of exploitation in exchange for nothing. Now, I know it's not nothing. In theory, it is fighting off a foe of the United States and maintaining peace in Europe and all that. We have an interest there, as supporters of Ukraine would say. I'm not trying to discredit their position, but I'm saying materially, if the claim is exploitation, we have handed them resources and received no resources in return. We're seeking a political or international benefit in that way. Diplomatic benefit, however you want to characterize it. But the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, explained the thinking here, I think, very well. As in, is this really just us trying to scoop a bunch of wealth from Ukraine because they owe us and damn it, we're going to find a way to do it? Are we really exploiting a vulnerable country? Well, that's one way to think about it. But according to Rubio, the negotiators here are not thinking about it as like, let's just scoop what we can out of Ukraine. The idea of the U.S. getting some mineral rights or mining rights or some sort of economic interest there is less about harvesting resources to pay back this debt. It's about giving the U.S. an interest in the area, at least in Rubio's reasoning. If the U.S. has a reason to care, as in, hey, we got a lot of mineral value there that we hold a right to, well, then there's a reason to have a security interest in Ukraine. And if not defend it ourselves, which we're not doing, defend it by proxy through all of this military aid and other things. But Rubio is also saying, well, Zelensky's lying too. That's not helping it. Zelensky, according to Rubio, told the U.S. negotiation team, hey, yeah, we're totally on board with the sharing of mineral rights. I just got to go to my legislature and then we'll get it figured out. But then he came out publicly and grandstanded and said, oh, I oppose the deal. I told them no way.
Number one, Joe Biden had frustrations with Zelensky. People shouldn't forget it. There are newspaper articles out there about how he cursed at him in a phone call. because Zelensky, instead of saying thank you for all your help, is immediately out there messaging what we're not doing or what he's not getting. I think the second thing is, frankly, I was personally very upset because we had a conversation with President Zelensky and we discussed this issue about the mineral rights, and we explained to them, look, we want to be in a joint venture with you, not because we're trying to steal from your country, but because we think that's actually a security guarantee. If we're your partner in an important economic endeavor, we get to get paid back some of the money the taxpayers have given, close to $200 billion. And it also, now we have a vested interest in the security of Ukraine. And he said, sure, we want to do this deal. It makes all the sense in the world. The only thing is I need to run it through my legislative process. I read 2 days later that Zelensky's out there saying, I rejected the deal. I told him, no way, that we're not doing that. Well, that's not what happened in that meeting. So you start to get upset by somebody. We're trying to help these guys. There should be some level of gratitude here about this. And when you don't see it and you see him out there accusing the president of living in a world of disinformation, that's very counterproductive.
So we'll see perhaps shortly whether this deal can come together or not. Deal being some sort of ceasefire, presumably some sort of Russian territorial acquisition, some sort of security agreement for Kyiv, and some mineral rights or payment for the U.S. That's what it's sounding like. And Trump is saying over the weekend, this deal is potentially imminent. So keep an eye on that. But that brings us to Hoax Hate for the evening.
And now, the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice? We have a very rare instance of a hoax hate crime resulting in prison time for the hoaxer. This woman is now one of the elite few who, she's now going to prison, but she was already part of the elite few who burned down her house just for the bit, for the hoax hate bit. And in this case, it's more like blew up her house just for the bit. Back in 2019, Angela Frace said that her house outside Cleveland, Ohio was burned down and attackers had spray painted a swastika on her garage door and also her neighbor's car. Here was the original report from back then.
Home explosion in Ohio that's being investigated as a hate crime after police found racial slurs and a swastika on the home's garage and 2 cars nearby.
You can see what's left here, basically a huge pile of debris. This home basically leveled by that explosion. The family who lives here says they always felt safe until now. Angela Frase's home reduced to rubble.
It's sickening to do this to somebody's home.
In the aftermath, authorities discovering the perpetrators spray painted a swastika and racial slurs on the garage and the neighbors' cars. Frase and her husband lost everything. The interracial couple says until now they had never felt targeted.
You would have taken 2 people's lives over hatred? Seriously?
Well, they didn't try to kill her for hatred, actually. She faked the hatred for insurance money. That was the scheme. She was charged with 4 counts of mail fraud for accepting insurance checks on claims that she falsified. She pleaded guilty, and she's now sentenced to 2 years in prison, plus she has to pay $327,000 in restitution. She is also recommended for drug treatment in federal prison. And, I wondered, drug treatment, was that a meth house that she had? Is that why it blew up? No, she just let the natural gas run, and then that sparked, she sparked it after that. Well, how do they know that Frace did it? Well, because of her phone location data. Prosecutors and police had that. So her insurance company, she had been faking this threat for some time. And because of those threats that she was fabricating, her insurance company set her up with a hotel room, her and her husband, away from the house. The night of the explosion, according to cell phone location data, she returned to the house from the hotel. Because they know she was the only one in there because there was no sign of forcible entry, she started the gas, created some sort of ignition, and then she left and went back to the hotel. And actually her husband came with her, according to prosecutors. Frace and her husband were the last people in the home prior to the discovery of the gas. They said they locked the doors. Again, no sign of forced entry. And she actually had a lot of other insane claims that went along with this scam. She told investigators that she saw 2 suspicious individuals running away from the home. She did not. She said she found a stuffed doll with a noose around its neck in her mailbox. She said she received an envelope with a racial slur written on it.
The N-word. You know what the N-word is?
Plus a bag of unknown powder inside. And I thought, well, why isn't she charged for the false police report? Why isn't she charged for her neighbor's vandalizing her neighbor's property? Where's the husband in the charging here? Because he was with her when she did this. He, I think, also benefited from this insurance fraud. I guess maybe all of that is part of how this was negotiated with prosecutors. They got her on the mail fraud, and that's good enough. But for in a rare instance, there is prison time, federal prison time for this particular hoax hate crime. Also in Seattle, local hoodlums targeted a gay bar in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of former Chaz fame, of course. And they did a drive-by water gunning. And they may have even called the people outside this gay bar F-slurs.
Pony Bar, a safe space for many, became the target of hate on Tuesday night.
It's just not okay. It terrorizes people.
Ade Conair was working at Pony that night and heard commotion coming from outside the bar.
They were basically driving around, just sort of harassing people that were outside, just screaming expletives at them and just antagonizing people.
Witnesses snapped this photo of a car with people inside yelling anti-gay slurs.
I think a lot of people were really upset and a bit traumatized by it.
I think at the moment people were scared, but once that fear is gone, then comes the anger.
Anouk Roxon, the general manager, says they're standing up against this type of violence and strengthening their bond with other businesses in the queer community.
Support your neighborhood and your bars and your nightclubs, and let's not let this stop us.
They hope the suspects will be identified and held accountable as they continue to keep their doors open to whoever needs a safe space.
Many of those people probably have AIDS.
Now, for as scary as these teens driving around with water guns might be, well, how about the teens driving around with real guns? Because that is also a Seattle problem. 72 murders in Seattle is, in 2023, the highest mark in decades. And many of these are actual drive-by shootings with actual guns, actual weapons, Congressman Garcia. One of them was out on I-5 just the other day. Okay, just driving down the interstate in Seattle, you might encounter a drive-by. Now, I get it. I understand it. The image that they showed there, I don't have it handy, but these guys driving around with what looks like a gun poking out of the car. Now, thankfully, they have the orange tip on that water gun. Otherwise, it does look kind of sketchy. You might think it's a real drive-by, but that's the point. Once you know this is hoodlum tomfoolery with a water gun, what's quoted in the story here? I was hit with the water gun and there wasn't serious injury associated. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, okay. Witnesses told police they saw someone in the front passenger seat of the car aiming and firing what looked like a paintball gun at people. It's a water gun. Outside the bar shortly before 1 a.m., one woman said she felt pain in her arm when something, presumably fired from the gun, struck her jacket sleeve, but she did not have a visible injury, according to police. Now, I guess, in fairness, I've never... I don't know what these water bead guns do. I assume that maybe the impact is more than, say, your typical squirt gun. I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the threat of a water gun. But in a city with limited police resources, we have a lot of real drive-by shootings happening. And we are devoting police resources to stopping the hoodlums with their F-slur shouting and their water bead guns. And we're making a big spectacle of this in the media in the context of a city where drive-bys are, a very real fatal threat. Perhaps police attention is best focused on the very real fatal threat. In New York City, there is another victim of the ongoing trans genocide. At least that's how it's going to be framed in next year's trans genocide report from the Human Rights Campaign. GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, the largest gay advocacy organization in the country outside of Chris Kluwe, of course. GLAAD is urging New York prosecutors to bring hate crime charges against the now 7 suspects. There were 5 arrested, then there were 2 more, so now 7 suspects arrested in what is described as a prolonged torture killing of a transgender man, as in a woman who thinks she's a man. Late last week, the body of Sam Nordquist, this 24-year-old woman, was discovered dumped in a field in upstate New York. The killing comes a few months after this woman traveled from her home in Minnesota to meet with people in the Finger Lakes region of western New York. Nordquist's family says she went in September. They expected her back in October. That didn't happen. And so as of February 9th, her family had reported her missing. Investigators then discovered her. It is believed that the suspects sexually assaulted her with a table leg and a broomstick. Now, I've not seen specifically what did they put where. That might be in the complaint or some other court documents. I'm not sure, but there was table leg and broomstick penetration was the manner of death, apparently. Also, prolonged beatings by punching, kicking, and striking Nordquist with numerous objects, including but not limited to sticks, dog toys, rope, bottles, belts, canes, and wooden boards. So I guess this facility was well equipped for that sort of thing. Okay, but why isn't this a hate crime? Why is GLAAD wrong? Well, because this was true and untrue violence. Not according to me, according to investigators. Those arrested, they said, at least of the original 5, I don't know about the other 2 that they just arrested, the original 5 were all identified as LGBTQ+. At least one of the suspects was living with Nordquist. So it sounds like insane, murderous lesbian strikes again. What I want to know, like, I get it. It was a lot of people on one, but like, how did they, is there another picture here? How did they overpower this person? That looks like a very strong individual. A lot of testosterone, I would bet. But it looks like she's been juicing, maybe. Hitting the tee hard. But for whatever reason was not able to overcome her attackers with her physical strength. Those arrested have already been indicted for second-degree murder. They could face life in prison, where they may actually face the same fate that they gave this woman. Broomstick up the something. Broomstick in the somewhere. Or maybe a table leg. We'll see how it goes for them. But that'll do it on content this evening. Let me catch up with our chatters, and then I'll call it a night. Let me get back over to YouTube and Tippy. Shot Clan. Your content has truly made a difference in my life, and I appreciate the time, effort, and passion you put into everything you create. Thank you so much, Matt, and congratulations.
We love you. You're very special.
I appreciate that very much, and it is my honor to know that it has made a difference in your life. And I can tell you, Shot Clan, like I said, you're tuning in, not just yours personally, but everybody who tunes in, who supports my work, who contributes in whatever way, even if you just listen like once a year, whatever it is, you have changed my life too. And I appreciate that very much. And it's my honor to hear that it's had some value for you. So thank you for that. Warrior Biatch. That's a good name. Congratulations. So happy for you and your family. I try to say something funny, but I never can. Just give me a chance and hit the funny button so I can win, dagnabbit. Seriously, though, congratulations. Well, I ran into this problem before. You know, Warrior, I really appreciate the support for the stream. And thank you for that. Once I've opened the gate to like just ask for an entry and I give it to you, then I got a problem on my hands because I've set the standard. So I have to keep some criteria. But of course, if you want to take a stab at that cleverness, I'm always willing to consider. Thanks for supporting the show, man. I really appreciate it. Colton Regal, my condolences on your loss and congrats on number 3. Any words of hope for the future? I just got sniped by a wealthier party on a property deal. Oh, man. Between Yankee transplants and tariffs hiking prices, prospects for my 40 acres and a mule are looking grim. Well, first of all, thank you for your support.
I am not going to be niggardly.
Appreciate it, Colton. Man, well, you know, as far as when we moved a couple of years ago, I got very lucky, as in the house that was available and what I had to do to sell the old house and to make it happen, it all fell together in a way that just seemed fated to me, like it was supposed to happen. And so a lot of the stress of trying to find the right thing and making all the pieces fit together, for whatever reason, it happened in a way that to me was like that was just supposed to happen. That was meant to be. So I don't have a lot of experience with the struggle in the property sense, like, you know, you're searching for the right home or the right place to live and you can't find it, or you get sniped by somebody else who made a higher offer. But I would imagine that the same wisdom that holds true for finding a wife or a spouse or building a family, all it takes is one. And so if this one doesn't work out, you have to find the perseverance, you have to find the energy, the commitment to find the one that does work. And so I really hope that you can do that. And my guess is if you're in position to buy one, and even though this one didn't work out, you're probably in position to buy something else, even if you feel like that one was the perfect one or that was the one you had to have. You know, the more I feel really fortunate to be able to have moved into the house that we did, and I hope that I am able to raise my family there because it's what I envisioned in my head. But the reality is, even though I love that house and you know, the house is really about what fills it. And I never would have bought that house if I didn't have those boys and that family. There would be no reason to. And so whatever you're searching for in a property, I mean, it is qualified with what you fill it with. And really that's what's important. If I had to live in, you know, some rundown, terrible place, well, if I'm filling it with my family, then that's something. It's not just something, it's what really matters. So all it takes is one. All it takes is one to find the right woman. All it takes is one to find the right place to raise your kids, all that stuff. So just stay committed, stay optimistic. Easier said than done, I know, but you got to. And then once you find the one, it's over. Justin Brush, look at this. You called me a fag. Look at this fag father. Seriously, though, congratulations. My wife is due on the 3rd in June, and we're excited for you guys. Well,
We love you. You're very special.
Congratulations to you. Oh, I see what you're... You know, that was actually a reference that I missed there. Was that a reference to the Justin Trudeau bit?
Look at this fag.
Yeah, I think it was. So you know what? I'm going to...
I love you.
Making fun of Justin Trudeau, if that is what you intended to do, and I think it was, that's always a way, as far as I'm concerned. Semper ad melior, thank you, Justin. Hey, Joy learned to code. Yes, indeed, she should. Was Joy a part of that? Like that whole learn to code bit? Wouldn't surprise me if she was personally a part of that, but I don't know. Thank you, Semper ad melior. Bravo, Victor. We only mourn our own loss. My grandmother passed at 96. I celebrate her life in this world and how she made me the man that I am. Here, have a couple C notes for diapers or standard capacity magazines. Well, my goodness, man. I very much appreciate that.
I am not going to be niggardly.
And dude, that's huge. I mean, I'm humbled by your support for the show. And all the best to your family and your grandma. Of course, I don't know when that happened, but yeah, it's kind of the point I was trying to get at is like when someone dies at that age, it is like, I hesitate to use the word celebration. Not that you're wrong. You're not. But there is something to appreciate, something to celebrate. Like that is a life properly lived. That is not a life that was cut short. That is not a life with a bunch of potential unrealized. That is a life that got everything out of it that it was supposed to. And so well done. And that's, you know, exactly how I feel about that situation. And my grandparents are passed now, but they all lived long, full lives as well. And yeah, when my time comes, when my parents' time comes, I hope it's exactly the same sort of thing. You know, you can't avoid death. None of us can. At least not yet, though I guess they're working on it. But the fact that life is not infinite, the fact that life has an ending is what gives it value, you know? And so we're not eager for death or something like that. We don't want death, but it's part of a recognition that the fact that it is finite, that it has an end point, makes each day individually valuable. And when you complete that arc, when you complete that long life in that way, it is an accomplishment. And in that way, it is celebratory. And Bravo, Victor. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for that. And God bless you and your family. William Crooks, for the new child's college fund, all the best from the future 51st state. Well, Godspeed up there in Canada. The interesting thought, like, will I send my boys to college? Long way off for that discussion. But I would have some hesitation today, obviously. Now, if they want to become doctors, lawyers, like specific career paths, yeah. But if they said, hey, Dad, I want to do what you did. I want to go to liberal arts college to get a political science degree. And think like, well, I would not advise you take my career path. So let's talk about that. Because even if you want to take, there are a lot of career paths that are plenty viable that don't require a 6-figure college debt. So cross that bridge when I get to it. Esoterica Unbound. I'd like to offer up some of my Facebook friends to take Joyless Weed's spot on MSNBC. I swear they were sane once, but suffered a psychic break post-inauguration. They all think Musk is hiding under their beds. Yeah, man, I love keeping up with like left-wing meme culture on Facebook and on X. And I look at it so much that like Facebook will just feed it to me. And that's really the only way I exist on Facebook is just lurker. I don't engage. But yeah, all these like left-wing meme accounts that are just so cringe about how Elon Musk is an actual Nazi. Oh, here's another clever depiction of Elon Musk as a Nazi. Oh man, did you guys know he's part of he loves Hitler and he's doing the Hitler salute. Here's another. And they just eat it up. I mean, these accounts are massive and these really terrible memes get tens of thousands of engagements, and it's amazing to watch. Thank you, Esoterica Unbound. Colton Regal, well-intentioned folks at church keep asking why I don't have kids. I politely explain why, but it still kills me every time. I love my wife. I can't forsake her just so I can have a baby. Well, Colton, if I'm recalling the situation correctly, and I don't mean to get too personal, but I hope you'll understand that we've kind of opened this door here, so allow me to talk about it a little bit. But as I've said in response to this before, and this is not me telling you what to do, it's just me trying to help you process this situation. But the vow is till death do us part, and that is for a reason. And I think it's admirable that you want to remain committed, but it is till death do us part. And it's not just that that's the vow. I have no doubt that your wife would want you to pursue that life regardless without her. Now, if I died, I absolutely would want my wife to be happy and supported in my absence. Now, of course, I'm making sure that my family's taken care of financially if I were to die, but that doesn't mean that there's a man, the role of a man automatically in the house. It just means that like financial worries are not present. And I think she would say the same to me, that if she were to die tomorrow, I don't think that. I know that. And it's not like I would be eager to find some replacement for my wife in that event. But my point is, it is not any level of infidelity or unfaithfulness to a spouse, if that spouse passes, to pursue another when the time is right. And if that's not now, that's okay. But I just, when you've talked about this before, it seems like you have a lingering guilt about that. You know, me playing psychiatrist or something through Superchat. So take it with a grain of salt, because it's probably total bullshit what I'm saying. I'm probably totally disconnected. But I hope that you're able to allow yourself that till death is the vow, and you should give yourself that grace. And all the best to you, man. I really appreciate it. Foo Cough. All right. So happy to hear that Mr. Beta is actually getting to have his Gen Beta baby after all. How not beta of you. Congratulations, Matt and Ping 2. Is he Gen Beta? Is that what they're called? Or I shouldn't say he. I don't know if this child is. Yeah, people born between 2025 and 2023. That is Generation Beta. So this little boy or girl will be Generation Beta, the oldest of Generation Beta. You're right. Tip G. These people destroy store displays for getting called sir, but it's the end of the world because they got hit with water. Yeah, maybe I'm missing something. Like water bead gun, that's not a thing I'm extremely familiar with. So when I think that, I hear like advanced squirt gun. So maybe I'm missing like how forceful these Or maybe I'm not. I mean, these are kids' toys, are they not? They're not even like paintballs have some force behind them. And paintballs are, I mean, obviously they're not guns, but they're sort of like quasi weapons. Like you could bruise someone and cause damage with a paintball gun. Now these things here, this is a water bead gun. Let me pull this up.
Pony Bar,
Oh, sorry,
a
I still
safe
have the story
space for
running.
many. Because
It has to happen once a stream. Here's a water bead gun at Walmart. Okay. Like I'm just seeing these little tiny gel balls, and I don't know what the velocity on this is, and I don't know what the weight of the projectile is. I don't know the physics here. I'm just having a hard time believing that is like a device that is capable of injuring a person in any serious way. Now, it looks like a gun, and that's why that orange muzzle is so crucial, so you know it's not one. I get why it might be initially scary on confrontation, but once you realize what's going on, like, is this really a matter for massive media attention? Anyway, maybe I'm missing something about these. Great White, you have no idea how bad the dating market is in 2025. Dude, you're completely clueless on here, bud. Well, admittedly, I've been out since 2018, and it was bad then. You know, I get it. I'm not telling you it's easy. I am telling you it's worthwhile, though. And you know, I know when you're on the wrong side of that struggle, that's hard to hear. Like, oh man, you know, I mean, this guy has no idea, and he's just telling me to stick at it. Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that it's harder now than it was when I was last in the market, which is 2018. So 7 years ago, this time 2018. But I don't think, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Great White, like you're advocating quitting. I'm just saying for anybody who's contemplating that, I think it's just a matter of searching in the right places. Like if I was in it now, I wouldn't be looking. I shouldn't say I wouldn't. If I was using online, I'd be very, very specific about what I'm looking for. But I'd be looking at I'd be looking in social groups at church. I'd be looking in the context of social organizations that are pursuant to a set of values that are aligned with a quality wife. That's probably the route that I would go. And I'm telling you, no matter how difficult it gets, and I'm not dismissing how difficult it is still worthwhile. And Great White, I'll grant your point in full and still hope that you will consider that to be true. And all the best to you. I think we're good on YouTube and Tippy. Over on Rumble, we're good. On Odyssey, I have a few more to catch up on. We got a lot of good Cash Patel memes. Hold on. Let's see. All right. Blanket says, Matt, when do you think they will release the Diddy list? Is there I mean, I guess there is. Like, he had all these parties, so there must be like a guest list or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's sitting on the desk right there with the Epstein list. Also says, Matt, do you think MSNBC? There you go. I always cringe, like, if you listen to, I'll turn the radio on in the car and like Mark Levin will be on, the local talk station or something, and MSDNC, or he's not MSDNC, MSLSD. That's what he's always saying. And so MSNBC I think is better than MSLSD or MSDNC. What do you think MSNBC canceling Joy Reid's show means? Do you think it'll mean they become conservative? No, they're leaning in. They're leaning into the progressivism drastically. You bring on Simone Sanders. Jen Psaki is not some sort of voice of moderation. I just, for whatever reason, and frankly, if I'm MSNBC and I'm managing this sort of progressive news and commentary network, I would look at the data they presented and okay, I see the same thing that they're seeing. Now, I don't want to run that business because I'm not ideologically aligned with it. But according to them, they are seeing across the board growth in viewership of their channel. Now, that could be because, the floor is pretty low, so growth is not necessarily extremely difficult. But if you're seeing growth across the board and you've got one person on it who is not growing, in fact, declining, well, there's your outlier. And just as a pure business move, you move on from that person. And it looks like that's what happened with Joy Reid. It was not like, I don't think this move was ideological, as in like, whoa, we've gone so crazy left that we have to course correct. I think it was just the numerical reality that Joy Reid is not the performer that I guess the rest of them are at that network are. It could be because she's crazy, but it could be because she's just not good at the job, potentially. So Anyway, no, I don't take it as a sign that they're going to be changing their general perspective in any way. We're good on DLive, good on Odyssey, good on Rumble, one quick refresh on YouTube and Tippy, and we will be all set for the evening. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me this evening. I appreciate your well-wishing. I appreciate all your support for this stream over all the years. Thank you for your super chats. Thanks for your live chats. If you're listening later on demand, thank you kindly for supporting the show as well. Thanks to my guest, Matt Palumbo, BonginoReport.com, at Matt Palumbo12 on X. Thanks to Knuckle Hunkybuck for stopping by to help out with Super Chat. Thanks to producer Tim for making sure the show goes off successfully as well. Hey, if you'd like more to listen to, podcast page of my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/podcasts. You can find the audio feed of the show over there too if you want to listen to the show on a podcast audio platform as opposed to stream it on a video platform. Anything else show-related, mattchristiansenmedia.com is where you find it, or mattis.gay. I'm back on Sunday and Wednesday nights. Of course, have a great night and a great week.